In continuation with my previous video on the basics of CMV, today let's discuss CMV in pregnancy. This is a crucial topic for obstetricians and fetal medicine specialists, as congenital CMV is a leading cause of neonatal morbidity and mortality. Let's break this down step by step. CMV infection is common, with 50% to 80% of adult women in the US showing past exposure, but having prior antibodies doesn't completely protect against reinfection or vertical transmission. Primary maternal infection poses the highest risk to the fetus, but even recurrent CMV infections can cause transmission, especially in immunocompromised women. The risk of congenital infection is highest when the mother contracts CMV in the third trimester, with over 50% transmission rates. However, the greatest fetal damage occurs in the first trimester. Among infants who develop congenital CMV infection as a result of primary maternal CMV infection in first half of pregnancy, 5% to 15% will be symptomatic at birth, and 85 to 90% infants remain asymptomatic, while less than 2% of those infected in second half of pregnancy cause severe issues. Mortality in severely infected newborns is 30%, and 80% of survivors face lifelong disabilities despite antiviral therapy. Even asymptomatic infants aren't completely safe. 10% to 15% develop late-onset hearing loss, chorioretinitis, or dental defects within 2 years. If a pregnant woman experiences recurrent or reactivated CMV, the transmission risk drops to just 5% to 10%, and neonates are usually asymptomatic at birth. Congenital CMV infection presents with severe complications, including hepatosplenomegaly, intracranial calcifications, microcephaly, fetal growth restriction, chorioretinitis, hearing loss, thrombocytopenia, hyperbilirubinemia. CMV can also be transmitted perinatally during vaginal delivery via infected genital secretions or through breast milk. However, postnatal CMV is rarely severe, except in preterm infants born before 32 weeks. The gold standard for diagnosing congenital CMV is PCR or viral culture from neonatal urine, saliva, or blood. Beyond 30 days of age, distinguishing prenatal versus postnatal CMV becomes difficult. Prenatal diagnosis is best achieved through CMV PCR in amniotic fluid, which is more reliable than IgM cord blood testing because fetal IgM antibodies appear late in gestation. Even the identification of virus in amniotic fluid does not delineate the severity of fetal injury, but ultrasounds are very sensitive in providing information about the fetal affection. The most severe sonographic signs include microcephaly ventriculomegaly, periventricular calcifications, hydrops fetalis renal dysplasia. Less severe findings include echogenic bowel, isolated serous effusions, and fetal growth restriction. To summarize, CMV is a common perinatal infection with highest transmission in the third trimester but greatest severity in the first trimester. Primary CMV infection poses the highest fetal risk, while recurrent infections have a lower transmission rate. Severe neonatal CMV can cause growth restriction, hearing loss, microcephaly, and neurodevelopmental deficits. Diagnosis relies on PCR testing of amniotic fluid and neonatal samples. Stay tuned for my next video, where we'll discuss congenital CMV in infants, their clinical manifestations, and how we can manage CMV infection during pregnancy. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.